The Tale of Two Friends. Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village nestled among rolling hills and vibrant fields, two children named Mia and Liam grew up together. The village was a place where everyone knew each other, where doors were always open, and the air was filled with the scent of wildflowers and the sound of laughter. Mia and Liam were inseparable from the moment they met. Mia, with her wild curls and bright, curious eyes, was the leader of their duo. She had a boundless imagination, always coming up with new games and adventures. Liam, with his calm demeanor and thoughtful gaze, was her perfect counterpart. He was more introspective, often preferring to sit quietly and think while Mia led them on their next escapade. Their days were filled with joy. They would race through the meadows, climb the ancient oak trees that lined the village, and spend hours exploring the nearby woods. The woods were their kingdom, a place where they could be anything they wanted, a pair of brave knights, a duo of explorers, or even rulers of a magical land. The world was theirs to discover, and they did so together, hand in hand. As they grew older, their friendship deepened. They began to share their dreams and fears, their hopes and worries. Mia dreamed of seeing the world, of traveling to far-off lands and meeting new people. Liam, on the other hand, was content in their village. He loved the quiet, the familiarity, the sense of belonging. He dreamed of a life filled with books, knowledge, and understanding the mysteries of the world. Despite their different dreams, they were always there for each other. Mia would drag Liam on wild adventures, and Liam would introduce Mia to new ideas and perspectives. They balanced each other perfectly, and their friendship became the foundation of their lives. As they approached adulthood, the differences in their personalities and dreams became more pronounced. Mia, always restless and eager for more, couldn't wait to leave the village. She wanted to see the world, to experience everything it had to offer. The day she left was bittersweet. The entire village gathered to bid her farewell, but no one felt her absence more than Liam. He stood at the edge of the village, watching as she walked away, her figure growing smaller and smaller until it disappeared over the horizon. Mia's journey was everything she had imagined and more. She traveled across continents, exploring bustling cities, remote villages, and everything in between. She met people from all walks of life, each with their own stories to tell. Her adventures were filled with excitement, fun, danger, and wonder. She climbed mountains, sailed across oceans, and wandered through deserts. Every place she visited added a new layer to her understanding of the world. As she traveled, Mia began to document her experiences. She started a blog, sharing her stories and photographs with the world. Her writing was vivid and full of life, capturing the essence of the places she visited and the people she met. Her blog quickly gained popularity, and soon she was a well-known travel blogger, with millions of followers eagerly awaiting her next post. Liam, on the other hand, stayed in the village. He enrolled in a nearby university where he studied philosophy. Liam's love for knowledge grew, and he found himself drawn to the big questions about life, existence, and the universe. He spent hours in libraries, surrounded by books, losing himself in the thoughts of great philosophers. He began to write as well, crafting essays and papers that explored the complexities of the human mind and the nature of reality. Liam's world was quieter than Mia's, but it was rich in its own way. He found fulfillment in teaching, sharing his knowledge with students who were as eager to learn as he was. His days were structured, filled with lectures, writing, and quiet reflection. He lived a life of the mind, exploring ideas and concepts that fascinated him. The village, with its tranquility and familiar faces, was the perfect backdrop for his contemplative life. Years passed, and Mia and Liam drifted apart. Their lives were so different now that they rarely spoke, and when they did, their conversations were brief and stilted. Mia was always on the move, and Liam was absorbed in his work. The deep connection they had once shared seemed to fade with each passing year. One day, Mia received an invitation to a village festival, celebrating the harvest season. It was an annual event, one that she had attended every year as a child. Nostalgia tugged at her heart, and she decided to go back, to see the place where she had grown up, and to reconnect with the people she had once known. Liam, too, was planning to attend the festival. He had never left the village, but the festival was a time when everyone came together, and he looked forward to seeing old friends and neighbors. When he heard that Mia was coming back, a mix of emotions stirred within him. He was excited to see her again, but also nervous. What would they talk about after all these years? The day of the festival arrived, and the village was alive with color and music. Stalls lined the streets, filled with food, crafts, and games. Children ran around, laughing and playing, while the adults caught up with old friends and danced to traditional music. Mia arrived in the late afternoon, and as soon as she stepped into the village, memories came flooding back. She walked through the familiar streets, taking in the sights and sounds that had been a part of her childhood. She felt a pang of longing for the simplicity and warmth of those days. As she wandered through the festival, she spotted Liam standing near a bookstall, engrossed in a conversation with a group of people. He looked the same, yet different. Older, more serious, but still with that thoughtful expression she remembered so well. Mia hesitated for a moment before approaching him. When Liam saw her, his face lit up with a smile, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. They hugged, and for a moment it felt like no time had passed at all. But as they began to talk, it quickly became clear how much they had changed. Mia talked about her travels, the places she had seen, and the people she had met. She spoke with the same enthusiasm she had always had, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she recounted her adventures. But as she spoke, she noticed that Liam's responses were polite, but distant. He listened, but it was clear that he couldn't relate to her experiences. When it was Liam's turn to talk, he spoke about his work, his research, and the ideas that fascinated him. He talked about the books he had read, the papers he had written, and the lectures he had given. But Mia found it hard to engage with what he was saying. The topics were so abstract, so removed from the world she had been living in, that she struggled to find a way to connect with them. Their conversation was strained, filled with long pauses and awkward silences. They both realized that they were no longer the same people they had once been. The bond they had shared as children had been strong, but it hadn't survived the years of distance and the changes in their lives. As the evening wore on, Mia and Liam decided to take a walk through the village, hoping that the familiarity of their surroundings would help bridge the gap between them. They walked in silence at first, each lost in their thoughts. Finally, Liam spoke. "It's strange, isn't it? How we were so close once, and now it feels like we're strangers." Mia nodded, her heart heavy. "I was thinking the same thing. I guess we've just grown apart." They walked a little further, the sounds of the festival fading behind them. The sky was darkening, and the first stars were beginning to appear. The village looked almost magical, bathed in the soft glow of lanterns. "We were kids," Mia said finally. "We didn't need much in common back then. We just needed each other." Liam smiled wistfully. "Yeah, things were simpler then." They continued walking, sharing memories of their childhood, laughing at the things they had done. For a moment, it felt like they were back in those days, when nothing mattered but the present and the future was full of possibilities. But as they talked, they both realized that the connection they had once shared was gone. It wasn't just that they had different lives now, it was that they had become different people. Mia was still the adventurous spirit, always looking for the next experience, while Liam had become more introspective, more focused on understanding the world from a different perspective. As the night grew darker, they made their way back to the festival. They knew that this reunion wasn't what either of them had expected. They had hoped to rekindle their friendship, but instead, they had come to terms with the fact that it had run its course. As they said their goodbyes, there was a sense of finality. They hugged, and it wasn't as emotional as it had been earlier. It was a farewell, not just for the night, but for the friendship that had once meant everything to them. Mia left the village the next morning, a heavy feeling of loss settling in her heart. The reunion had not gone as she had hoped, but it had brought clarity. She knew now that their friendship had been a product of a time and place that no longer existed. It had been special, but it was in the past. Liam, too, was reflective after Mia's departure. He felt a sense of closure mixed with sadness. He realized that their lives had taken them in different directions for a reason, and though it was hard to accept, it was the reality of growing up and changing. But as time passed, both Mia and Liam found themselves thinking about the other more often than they expected. Despite the awkwardness of their reunion, there was still a part of them that longed for the connection they had once shared. It was as if a door had been closed, but not locked. Months later, Mia was on yet another adventure, exploring a remote area in the mountains. She had heard rumors of an ancient, hidden library buried deep within the earth, filled with knowledge lost to time. It was said that those who found it would gain insights that could change the course of history. Intrigued, Mia decided to seek it out. The journey was treacherous, but Mia was determined. After weeks of searching, she finally found the entrance, a narrow, dark cave hidden behind a waterfall. She was about to enter when she heard a voice behind her. "Mia, what are you doing here?" She turned around, and to her shock, there stood Liam. He looked as surprised as she was. "Liam, why are you here?" Liam explained that he had been researching ancient texts and had come across references to the same library. The knowledge it supposedly contained had drawn him here, just as it had drawn Mia. They stared at each other, realizing the coincidence, or perhaps fate, that had brought them together again. Without saying much, they decided to explore the library together. The old familiarity between them resurfaced, and they fell into a rhythm as they navigated the dark, winding passages. They were a team again, just like in their childhood, each relying on the other's strengths. As they delved deeper into the library, they began to uncover ancient texts, scrolls, and artifacts that seemed to hold incredible power. But the deeper they went, the more they realized that this place was not just a library. It was something far more dangerous. One night, as they camped near the site, Mia overheard a conversation between Liam and one of the members of the mysterious group guarding the entrance. She quietly approached, trying to catch every word. "Liam, you must understand," the stranger said in a low voice. "The knowledge within that library is not meant for the world. It was hidden for a reason. You cannot let her find it." Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she strained to hear Liam's response. "I understand the risks," Liam replied, his voice calm but firm. "But the world has changed. This knowledge could help us. It could help her." The stranger sighed. "If you go through with this, you will be responsible for whatever happens. This isn't just about knowledge. There are forces at play that you don't understand." Mia's blood ran cold. What was Liam hiding from her? She decided to confront him the next morning. The following day, as they prepared to continue their journey, Mia couldn't hold back any longer. "Liam, what's going on? What aren't you telling me?" Liam hesitated, clearly torn. "Mia, there's something you need to know. This library, it's not just a collection of books and scrolls. It's said to hold the power to reshape reality, to alter the fabric of the universe itself. The knowledge inside is incredibly dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands." Mia stared at him, stunned. "And you didn't think to tell me this sooner? Why are we even doing this if it's so dangerous?" "Because I believe we can handle it," Liam said, his voice filled with conviction. "And because you deserve to know the truth. But I was also warned that once we enter, there's no going back. We'll be faced with challenges that will test us in ways we can't even imagine." Mia took a deep breath, the weight of Liam's words sinking in. "So what do? Do we turn back or do we go forward?" Liam looked at her with a mix of determination and regret. "That's up to you, Mia. We can walk away and return to our lives, or we can take this risk and see it through. But know that whatever we decide, things might never be the same again." After a long silence, Mia made her decision. "We've come this far, and I need to know what's in that library. But we do this together, no more secrets." Liam nodded, a look of relief washing over his face. Together, they continued on their journey, and after several days of travel, they finally reached the entrance to the hidden library, concealed within a mountain. The entrance was marked by ancient carvings that pulsed with a faint, eerie glow. As they stepped inside, they were immediately met with a sense of overwhelming power. The air was thick with energy and the walls seemed to hum with knowledge. The library was vast, filled with rows upon rows of ancient tomes, artifacts, and scrolls that seemed to whisper secrets as they passed by. But the deeper they ventured, the more treacherous the path became. They encountered traps that tested not only their physical abilities, but also their minds. Riddles, puzzles, and illusions challenged their perceptions of reality, forcing them to rely on each other's strengths. At one point, they reached a room where a single book lay on a pedestal, bathed in a beam of light. The book was bound in a material neither of them recognized, and its cover bore the same symbols as the tablet Mia had found. "This is it," Liam whispered, "the heart of the library." As they approached the book, a voice echoed through the chamber. "You who seek the knowledge within, beware. What you learn here will change you forever. Once you open this book, the knowledge cannot be unlearned. Are you prepared for the consequences?" Mia and Liam exchanged a glance. This was the moment of truth. "We're ready," Mia said, her voice steady. Liam nodded in agreement. Together, they reached out and opened the book, and as they did, a blinding light engulfed the room. The knowledge within the book began to flow into their minds, revealing secrets about the universe, the nature of existence, and the power that could shape worlds. But with the knowledge came a terrible realization. The library wasn't just a place of learning. It was a prison, built to contain a powerful entity that had been sealed away eons ago. The entity, now awakened by their presence, began to stir, its consciousness seeping into theirs. Mia and Liam found themselves in a battle, not just for their lives, but for their very souls. They had to use the knowledge they had gained to contain the entity once more, to prevent it from escaping into the world and unleashing chaos. In the final desperate moments, Mia and Liam combined their strengths, her adventurous spirit and his deep understanding of philosophy and reality, to outwit the entity. They managed to trap it back within the book, sealing it away with a powerful spell that required both of their wills. Exhausted and forever changed, they emerged from the library. The journey had taken a toll on them, but it had also brought them closer than they had ever been. They had faced the ultimate test and had come through it together. Mia and Liam returned to the village, but they were no longer the same people who had left. They carried the weight of the knowledge they had gained, knowing that they would have to protect the secret of the library for the rest of their lives. Their friendship, once strained by time and distance, had been reforged in the fires of their shared ordeal. They understood each other on a deeper level now. Bound by the experiences they had endured together, Mia decided to continue her travels, but this time with a new purpose. She sought out places of ancient knowledge, working to protect them and ensure that the power they held remained in safe hands. Liam returned to his studies, but he no longer confined himself to the village. He began to travel as well, giving lectures and sharing the knowledge he had gained, but always with a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking too much power. Though their paths once again diverged, Mia and Liam knew they would always be connected. They had faced the darkness together and had emerged stronger for it, and in the quiet moments of their lives, they would always remember the library, the choices they had made, and the bond that had brought them back together.